All right, first things first, let's talk about cold lead intake, cold seller lead intake. Let's talk about basic like principles and frameworks. Sometimes when you're talking to a person who's cold, a cold contact you, you don't have a pre-established rapport or previously established relationship of any kind, no prior contact. Sometimes they're harder to convert. Before we even get into how to convert, like, by message or, if they called, first we got to talk about the basics, okay? So if this person's like, they reached out to you, but they're like throwing up a lot of objections and hurdles that you have to overcome, then I want to just give you this basic framework first before we dive into the rest of the video. First things first, you need to understand their belief system. So you say, hey, Joe, thank you so much for reaching out to me. Like, what do you think is happening in the real estate market right now? And they're going to tell you, say, okay, cool. Where'd you get that information from? And they're going to say, oh, I got it from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, the news, CNBC, MSN, wherever, okay? So you want to hear this person out. You are establishing rapport by giving them a soapbox for them to stand upon and voice all of their fears and concerns. And this is wildly important that you don't interrupt and correct them at this point in time, okay? You're going to let this person talk. What do you think's happening in the market? And then when they're done, where did you hear that from? Okay? When they're done with that, there's a pause in the conversation. You say, okay, Brian, I really appreciate you sharing all that information with me. Do you mind if I take a moment to tell you what I think is actually occurring in our local real estate market? Usually they'll say, yeah, because they called you, okay? So they have some level of prior motivation, which has prompted them to, pick up the phone or send a message and reach out to you. So they usually say yes, okay? And now this is your opportunity to be a knowledge broker and establish your expertise or display your expertise. Then you say, hey, cool, I totally understand your concerns that like, hey, the market slowed down really aggressively, or, maybe you're watching this at a time where the market sped up a ton and it's an extreme seller's market. I totally get it. That's great. Sounds good. Here's what's actually happening. And then you should be going into your MLS and studying your market stats. There has to be some market stat related thing on your MLS. For my MLS, RealComp, you log in just like you normally would. On the app page, you'll see a little orange button that says Market Stats. Go up and click Fast Stats, and you will be able to see all the data for any city or county or township around, okay? Find your stats. And if this person's right on about the market, just say, okay, that's great. I love it. I think we're basically on the same track. If you need to redirect them and you need to reframe and teach them what's actually happening, then please do so not from a place of emotion or opinion, but from a place of fact. Hey, Brian, I totally understand what you think is going on. Totally makes sense. I see that all the time on Facebook too. But here's what's really happening. We actually only have 40% of the homes that we need based on buyer demand right now. I totally get it. Yeah, is it slower than it was 3 months ago? 100%, absolutely. Is your house going to sell in the first weekend? No, probably not. I mean, I'm sure you could find a broker who's going to tell you that so they could get the listing, but it's very unlikely to occur at this state in the market, okay? And just use this time with whatever's happening in the market at the time of your phone call to get them on track, okay? So you understand their BS, their belief system, then you guide them and redirect them towards what's actually occurring. Then I always end that with something like, hey, look, I don't have a crystal ball, but based on the facts, here's what's happening, and here's why, I think we should probably at least schedule a listing appointment so we can, continue to investigate and see if this really is the right move for you based on your goals and needs, right? It's not about me. I just want to find out what's actually going on with you. Pop over to the house so I can give you an accurate value, and then we can go from there. We'll see if it makes sense. Sound good? Okay? So I'm doing that, all right? Just, talk to them about whatever you need to establish the facts and so on and so forth, okay? So that's just like my soapbox moment about cold discussions. Now, let's go into a much easier cold conversation through message, either text message or social media. This message comes in and they're going to say, hey, Nick, I've been following you on TikTok for 2 years. I think I need to sell. Say, great, sounds good. I appreciate it a ton. Can you hop on the phone in like 15 minutes? It's much easier to crank this out on a phone call. If they say no, say, okay, cool. Would you prefer to do this through text message, or I have availability for a phone call 1 more time today, 2 times tomorrow. Which would you prefer? And then just go with their preferred method of communication, okay? If they say, hey, cool, I'm down for a phone call tomorrow at 9 a.m., that was the time you gave them because you're a professional who establishes clear boundaries right off the bat. Then just set that time and do not be late calling that person. Be fully prepared, fully confident, competent, strong voice on the phone, like you are ready to handle anything that they could throw at you, okay? If they go through text message, also cool. You're just gonna follow the ISA checklist below. It's exactly the same as warm stuff, okay? If a cold lead comes in by phone call, you're just, again, gonna follow the ISA checklist. Is this a primary, is this an investment property? What's your ballpark timeline? Do you have a price that you wanna hit? What is motivating you to do this? And do you need to buy elsewhere? Okay, you're gonna gather as much information as possible. As always, in your any contact with a listing lead, your goal is to set an in-person listing appointment. Now, some people are gonna say, hey, look, I don't need to sell for a year. I don't think we need to do the appointment now. I say, hey, I totally understand, Jane. It's really difficult for me to give you an updated or an accurate value or keep you in the loop over the next year if I've never seen the house in person. There's no pressure for me. I'm not gonna give strong pressure or force you to sell. It's just really hard for me to accurately advise you over the next year if I've never seen your house in person. I gotta be there in person so I can see the finishes and kind of have some sort of an idea of the current condition and what you think you're willing to do to get this thing listed. How much you're going to prep it. Is it okay if I stop by now just so we can have much more individualized and accurate conversations over the next year? So that's how you get over that hurdle, all right? So this wraps up most of my discussion and related to cold seller leads. Get them on the phone. If you need to convert or work harder to get this thing moving, understand their BS, then re-educate and inform, then run through the ISA checklist, the normal stuff, and schedule the dang listing appointment. Good luck. See you in the next video.